Well, thanks so much. How is everyone doing? Yeah. Are you all happy, like being all spread out? Do you want to come in, or are you okay? Okay. How many of you have played guitar for more than 5 years? Oh, that's cool. And so, how many of you are just starting, say like a year or something? Cool. So the rest of you have like a couple of years in or something. And how many of you are playing for like worship teams? That's great. And then some of you are just playing in bands out and about, I guess. And brilliant. Well, I would really love today to be conversational and interactive. So be thinking about any questions or anything. Like, I don't know, say you remember something that I did back in the day and you say, how do you do that? I can maybe try and show you. But I thought what I'd do is just start by talking you around my rig that I've got here. This is my traveling pedal board. Up until this year, I've been touring with the board that I finished Delirious with, and that was like a 2-pedal board rig with a big gig rig switcher on it, and it's really awesome. And that's in my studio, and would come out on the road with me if I was on a bus or doing a bus tour or something. But with airlines the way they are nowadays, I've had to consolidate a little bit, and so I thought I'd talk you through what I've got here, as a lot of you are already coming up and having a look. So can we see this? Is it? Oh, awesome. Okay, great. So I come in with my curly purple guitar lead, and I go straight into something called a humdinger, and that is made by the Gig Rig. They make awesome stuff for power and for switching, and they're guys that I know well, and they really love guitar tone. So basically what this does, it's a buffer, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio Class A circuit that will run 100 feet of cable with no losses. So I don't know if you are into it this much, but you know, if you run a guitar signal down a long guitar lead or a really long length of cable, you lose top end because of something called capacitance. And so this buffer just helps to feed the signal through without any top end loss. And it's something that I wouldn't do without now, after many years of being without one. So I then go into my volume pedal. The buffer also helps with that, because the type of volume pedal I use has a potentiometer with a certain value, impedance value, and it reacts differently to different guitars. So the buffer helps with that. It kind of helps to even the impedance difference up. I come out of an isolated output on the humdinger to my tuner, and that way my signal's never going through my tuner, because this is very subtle, and it doesn't really matter if you go through your tuner, but you kind of have a slight signal loss when you split the signal from your volume pedal or a Y split. So I like to keep that totally separate. Tuner. Okay, I'll come out of my volume pedal, and I go into my Gig Rig Quartermaster. That's a 10 channels of loop, and so all my pedals are on all the time, and they're in a loop that I switch on and off. And that way the signal's not going through all the pedals all the time. That just helps to keep it clean for me. First in the chain is my compressor. These pedals that all look the same here, they're made by a company called D&B that I really like. The guy called Michael, he's just moved to Nashville. So I like this compressor because you can set it so it hardly makes any difference. You'd think, oh, that's not really doing anything. But what's nice about it is that you get the classic sustain and the classic kind of, you can make a single chord pickup really kind of funky and clean and kind of have that long sustain. But you can blend the original signal in with the compressed signal so that on a guitar like this with a humbucker, it doesn't kind of suck the sound right out. Then I go into something called a tranny, which is this here. It's made by Kent Pedals, and I use this like a clean boost or something to just kind of bring a little bit of top end into the sound. It's basically like a volume knob and a gain knob. Then I go into a Timmy, and that's what I use for my crunch sounds. And then I've got my fuzz pedal, this Foxy Pirate there, and that's actually what it's called. The compressor's called a Spankenstein, which I think is genius. Then I go into Americana, this pedal here, which is kind of like more overdriven, but not in your face. And then I go into the Lexi, which is kind of like a Zevex Box of Rock type pedal. It kind of mimics the a Plexi, Marshall Plexi, and is a great pedal. And so they're all my overdrives. Then this switch here operates this switcher, which is just an extension. So I won't be using this today, but if I'm in the studio and I want to put a wah pedal in or try a new pedal out, I can just come into here, in and out, and switch it in and try a pedal out for the first time or something without having to unplug everything. Or I can put another volume pedal in there so that I've got a volume post my overdrives or a wah or anything you want to chuck in. I then go into my Jam Man, which I use to create. Most of the time, I'm using it to create ambient loops, and I can then store these on a memory card and come back to them later if I want to. So with One Sonic Society, we do have someone that's playing keyboards tonight, but oftentimes it's just the three of us, and so I'll create some pad sounds to kind of fill the sound out of it just being a drummer, myself, and Jason on acoustic guitar. So that's that. I can show you all these, what they do in a minute if you like. But and then I've got the Line 6 M9, which is just a really versatile unit. I love the reverbs on there. I love the delays on there, and it has a killer univibe sound too. In terms of like a space-saving, traveling, more compact rig, I love that unit because it does so many things. I don't use any of the distortions or overdrives on there. I don't like those so much, but in terms of the delays and what have you, and then I can tweak the parameters with this pedal here. And so I then come out, and I generally use 2 amps. So I use the stereo out of the M9. And I got into using 2 amps back in the day with Delirious because I just liked the blend. In the UK, I've got a Marshall and a Vox and I like those. I like the combination of the two together. So I'm not always running stereo stuff. You know, some of the delays, especially when I do ambient pads and what have you, I'll use a stereo delay. But oftentimes it'll just be mono, but I just like the sound of the two amps. So, you know, one for the highs and lows and the Vox for the mid honk. Yeah, so any questions on any of this? Is that all clear? Yes, sir. What reverbs do I like on the M9? I'll show you. I use typically about 3 different reverbs for different things. Which of course this room's got quite a big reverb on it anyway, but I like the spring reverb on there, the 63 spring it says. You can't really hear it in here because of the room sound, but I use that, and I use the octo reverb. And you hear that little fluttery sound on top. So I use that, and then I also, on another bank here, have something called the particle verb, which is a really great one for ambient pads. So that's just the reverb, but if I chuck the delay on there too. And you can make that go forever with the expression pedal. So yeah, they're the 3 main ones that I use. Any other questions about the pedals? Yes, sir. No, I always run into the front end. I don't know why. I've never really used effects loops. I've never experimented with them. But yeah, I run everything into the front end. Thanks. Yes. Yeah, I'll show you one. I'm sorry? Repeat the question. The question was, how do I use the Jam Man loop pedal to create some pads? I'll show you that. So here's a loop that I've already made, but it's empty, okay? It's in tempo for a song that I was using the other day. And so, wrong one. Put it in overdub. So I've just turned the overdub function off, and I can just play over the top of that. So I just kind of build those up with, you know, if you wanted to create one that was a riff, you know, ding, 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 or something, you know, you could do that too. Yeah.
Did you just play like 5 seconds of like each of your like gain stages? You can see like how like the
Sure. Yeah. So the question, can I play or give an example of all the different gain stages, so like the different overdrives and what have you. So yes, I can. So this is just the, actually, this is just the guitar without anything. And then with some compression on it. So you can hear that it's kind of grabbing the note and just bringing everything up level, right? So this is the tranny. So you can hear that's just got like a little bit bigger. You'll have to forgive me because I've just pulled this out of the case, so the gains might be a little bit all over the place. It actually sounds a little bit loud. That's better. So I generally have that to set so that it isn't really boosting anything. It's just kind of makes the sound a little bit brighter. And then I'll put the Timmy in. So you can hear that's like a nice crunchy tone. Then the Americana. Kind of a more overdriven crunch, really. And then the Lexi, which would be more of a bigger lead thing, more of a heavier sound. Yeah, that's the Lexi. The fuzz is just fuzz, so just however loud you want it, I guess. I use fuzz a lot because in tracks in the studio, when you're kind of wanting to get a bigger feeling on the bottom, you know, some people would think, oh, that's just too in your face or too like takes over. But if you, for instance, let me just think of something. I don't know, something like Forever Rain, which I didn't use this on, but I'm just using it as an example. Like a chorus that's just kind of going, like you do that on 2 tracks and just pull it down underneath everything, and it'll just give it a lovely, warm, bottom, huge vibe. So, I use fuzz a lot, and not always for what you'd expect. Yeah, so that's kind of it actually. So let me show you the tranny with like the classic kind of edge kind of vibe. Yeah, that's how I use that kind of dotted 8 thing. The other delays I have are I use the low res delay on there, which I just set to quarter notes. If I whack the feedback up on that, that's pretty cool. So, endless hours of fun. So that's pretty much all the my overdrive gain structure. Yes?
What guitars do you normally tour with?
If I'm on a fly date, then it would be this one, the Duesenberg Star TV, and I've got a Strat with me too on this gig, because I have the Strat tuned to an open E tuning because of a couple of the One Sonic songs that we do. Kind of I did with an open tuning, so do that. If I'm going to do the song. If I'm going to be leading somewhere or something and I do Majesty, then I've got a blue Telecaster that I take out with me, because I have that tuned down a whole tone. Thanks.
The gig bag that you had that in, what kind was that? Did it take care of the guitar well for you?
Yes. So what gig bag have I got? I've got something called a mono case, and it's the dual bag, so I have 2 guitars in there, and I've actually checked it once and it was fine. I really trust that case. It's got a thing that holds the neck in place, and you know, that doesn't put any pressure on the neck, and really cool, really tough. Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit about your approach to delays? What's your philosophy behind the use of delays and stuff?
My philosophy behind the use of delays, and can I explain that? Everything's better with delay on it, isn't it? Yeah. I wish I could get one for my life. Generally, in the studio, I'm using a lot less delays now than I used to. I think that a lot of producers and engineers would like a cleaner, drier sound now, so that they can manipulate it. But I would generally have like a delay set up for the quarter notes, and then a delay set up for the dotted 8s, I'll just show you the difference on that. So if that's the tempo, right, so I have a delay set up for that. Then I would have a delay set up for the dotted eighth thing, which is like that. Dave Gilmour used it for Run Like Hell, right? And so on. And then I would have a stereo delay set up for my swell stuff. The stereo delay on the M9 kind of sorts it out for you. My favorite delays would either be the time factor by Eventide or the Strymon timeline, where you can like program them a little bit more. But so you can hear that thing, right? But when I swell with it, it just sounds wide. Put that octo reverb on it too. So they're kind of the three main things I would use, like a quarter note that I can tap to tempo, a dotted eighth that can do that jigga 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 thing, and then the stereo thing for pads. Yes. I'm sorry? The tuner is a TC electronic polytune, and can you see that working way? Yeah, so it'll tune the single notes, but if you then play all of them, you can tune them like that too. So I've never really looked at that and tuned while I'm playing though. Thanks. Yes. Sorry, can you say that again? That's a good question. I generally always have the tranny on as in the front end, and so the Timmy with the tranny on sounds like this. If I turn the tranny off, slightly smaller. If I put the Americana on, take the Timmy off, it's a bit thicker. Yeah, so generally I keep the tranny on with each one, but I wouldn't have the other ones on with in front of each other. Thanks. Any other pedal questions? Yeah.
What's the XLR coming out of the back of your pedal board?
What here? That is that's not actually XLR. That's just my outputs to the amps. Yeah, it's just like a left and right. It's simply an extension box because the outputs from the quartermaster come out of here, and because this is in the way, I can't plug the leads into here, and so I've just got an extension box coming up to there. Yeah.
What about tube saturation? Do you try to get more natural grit to the tube, or are you trying to mimic that with your
In the studio, I will work the amps a lot harder, and you know, get a lot of crunch and sustain from the tubes themselves. But I'm not really I don't like things too loud. So I also don't like amps with master volumes on them, because this is just my taste. Over the years, I've got some, and I've had a lot that have a master volume on them, but they sound smaller to me than an amp that just has a gain knob. So all my Marshalls and my Voxes, they have no master volume. And what I do to keep the volume down is use a power break or a hot plate that plugs into the speaker side, and it just kind of dissipates the heat and turns. You can notch the volume down, the wattage down. So yeah, I like to, especially with fuzzes, is the cleaner the tone, the better the sound from a fuzz. So I've got used to having fairly clean, running my amps fairly clean. You know, it's not quiet, but it's clean, right? And that way, when I do use a fuzz, you get the full highs and lows of it, and it doesn't kind of saturate too much. Yeah.
So before you got the M9, what kind of delay did you use?
I use the Eventide time factor, and I use a Memory Man, an older one, and I've got a high watt tape echo, which is a fun piece of kit, and a JHS Panther, which is a really good version of the Memory Man with tap tempo and lots of fun stuff. What made me choose the M9 for this board, it was the multi-function of it, because I wanted to try and keep things quite small for flying. Yeah. Yes?
So do you ever use the volume and tone on your guitar? Or do you just use the pedal?
Yeah. In a live situation, I would pretty much always use the pedal, but you know, I do sometimes take the gain down with the volume control on here too. Yeah, not that often when I'm playing live, but yeah. Any other pedal questions? Yeah. Not so much. I mean, I haven't experimented so much with the kind of sub-octave stuff on here, which there is, but we kind of generally, if we haven't got a bass player, we've either got a cello player that covers that, or it's really stripped down to the point where it's two guitars and voice and percussion. So, thanks. Okay, what I thought I'd show you is a really kind of mindless, brainless exercise that I use to warm up. I've done this for 30 years now, and it's the kind of thing that you can sit on your sofa and do just to promote muscle memory and strength while you're watching a show or something. But it's something that I do every time I pick up the guitar, just for a few minutes. And it's simply a chromatic run up all the strings. I'll turn it on, but it's really not interesting to listen to. So I'm going up all the strings and the 4 frets with my 4 fingers, and I'm leaving all my fingers on. Oops. So the aim of that is, I was getting fancy then, but the aim is to do it slow and to keep your fingers pressed down on each fret, and when you're coming down, to place all your fingers back over the frets. And you know, kind of, it's hard to mess up, although I did, but do it slow. You know, do it slow, and I mean, you can build up speed as you go, but like, it really builds up your finger strength, and like I said, promotes muscle memory on your fingers on the frets and what have you. So that's something that I do every time before I play or record. The other thing I wanted to show you is basically everything that I know about the fretboard, I know because I learnt the C major scale in all 7 positions. So I'll show you an example of that. So this is the first position, right, because C's up here, C, right? So again, it's, let me just play it for you. Right, so it's 3 notes per string, and then all the way down. Okay, and so I learned that. I just kept on doing that really slow with the metronome until I learned it and learned it and learned it and learned it, and then went on to the second position. Sorry. So the 2 of C is D, right? And so just keep going up each one. Is 4. Five. You get the idea. You start on each number of each note of the C scale, and I learnt that in C, and then you can translate that into every other key. So, you know, G with the 1 position. And yeah, like I said, I just learned that 1 scale in 1 key, and then practiced it in all the other keys. The reason why that's helpful is twofold for me. Before I moved to Nashville, I didn't know, I couldn't read a number chart. I could only read G, C, D, E, or whatever. And in Nashville, all the charts are written with numbers. And it was like learning a completely new language. But what helped me was the fact that I'd done this with, I was already using numbers because of that, the way that scale works. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So that really helped me kind of get my head around it. And you've probably heard about the number system, but it just means that you have one chart, and if you decide to change the key, especially helpful in church, that you just have the same chart. You just move your capo, or you know, just re-key the chords on here, but you just read the chart in numbers. So I found that really helpful. And again, you know, do it with a metronome. Do it nice and slow so you don't make mistakes, and just keep doing it and get that muscle memory in there. Now, a way that's helped me in terms of playing and like soloing or whatever is that I know that if I'm in D minor, for instance, say, then I know that the relative major is F, right? So I know that if we're in D minor, let me just so I know that if I play in an F major scale, that it's not going to sound wrong. See what I mean? Apart from that. So the major scale thing really helped me to understand voicing and harmony and stuff like that. So any questions about any of that, or anything you want to ask me? Anything about my days in Delirious, or yes?
Any records, books, anything you find especially inspirational right now to give to us? Came late, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No. So any records or books or stuff like that? In terms of books, nothing about music, but everything about the contemplative life. I love reading Richard Rohr and Thomas Merton, people like that. In terms of music, I still love Radiohead. I think In Rainbows is one of the best records of all time, and that's just my taste, I guess. I listened to a band called Blonde Redhead. Love those guys, and I just love that kind of indie ambient stuff. That's kind of my flavor. My music taste is really eclectic, though. If you looked on my iPod, you'd be quite surprised. But love Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin and Queen. Like they're my staple of like guitar playing bands. Thanks. Yes. Yeah, talk about Rain Down, the song Rain Down. Well, first of all, we were at a festival in America. I can't remember where that was, but we were on stage for sound check, and it was really blowing up, the storm. It was, something was going to roll in. You could see it in the distance. And so I was just messing around, and I literally started just to play that riff, which is and Martin picked up on it immediately, and he just started singing. Like before he was singing Rain Down, over that he was looks like tonight the sky is heavy, and like that first verse kind of wrote itself, and he just started singing. It hadn't started raining yet, but he was just started singing Rain Down. All around the world we're singing Rain Down. And so we took that away, and that's how that song was birthed. Yeah. The bridge to that, so I told you that I was a Queen fan, right? So live, I would just play it in power chords with a fuzz, which would be do not shun, do not shun, do not shut the heaven. But on the record, that was all single notes, like in a Brian May kind of vibe. Whatever, and then just built them up in harmonies like that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about how you ended up with Delirious, where you are now.
Sure. Delirious finished in 2009, and we knew it was going to finish for about a year. And so we had dates to fulfill, and wanted to do that well and properly. And so it was a little bit hard, though, because you knew it was coming to an end, and it kind of sucked some of the vision and passion out of it. But it was a good process. And so what I started to do is every time we were in America, I tagged on a few days and went to Nashville, because I knew that I didn't want to finish. I knew that it wasn't time to hang the guitar up and do something else. And so my thing was, what is next? And I naturally had some connections, and so I just came to pursue a next step. Like, there wasn't a plan. It was like, what is the right next step? And so that first step was come and reconnect with some people in Nashville and see if there's anything there. And after a while, I'd met Jason Ingram, who's in One Sonic Society, and he invited me to come out for a week and write. So we did, and I met Paul Mabry that week, and that's how the vision of One Sonic Society became into being. But then I would just get the odd guitar session here and there, and start to write songs. And I got a publishing deal, and with Essential, and just little by little, it got busy enough so that all my work was here and none was back in the UK. And so in 2010, my family and I moved over, and thank God that I've been able to pay my bills and join the ranks of the self-employed. And some weeks I don't know what I'm doing, and then something comes in. But actually, something I would say into that is, if you're aspiring to be a session guitarist, or if you are now, I just want to encourage you that we never feel like we've got it all together. You always feel over your head, like you turn up the studio, and can I pull it off today? And it's like that every single time. And sometimes you think to yourself, well, one day I'll get to a real session, I'll do the real work, but you're just doing it anyway, everyone's in the same boat. I was hanging out the other week with Jerry McPherson and Tom Hemby, and I saw Tom Bukovac, and they're names that you might not know, but they're like A-list guitar players in Nashville, and everyone's the same, everyone's got that insecure thing about them, and we never feel like we're up to it, but someone calls it the discipline of showing up. It's like we show up, and we're present, and we make ourselves available. So, yes.
Is there one delirious song that you felt kind of you were able to make your statement as a guitar player? One that was kind of that moment when you sort of arrived at your style and your...
I think we kind of shape-shifted a little bit throughout the years. One thing that I loved the creative process around the Glow record. The question was, is there one song that kind of pulled... Can you rephrase? Can you...
Well, just as a guitar player,
Yeah.
kind of felt like you've been able to make your statement, you kind of arrived at...
Yeah. Was there one song that kind of shows my arrival as a player or whatever? I think the song that I always say was my favourite to play live was "Investigate" off Glow, and that was I guess as a player I was really proud of that, and but that was more of a rock blues vibe than we were later on. But I would say "Investigate" probably was the song that kind of whenever we played that live, I was really proud of that. Yeah. Yes.
What tips would you have for rhythm players who want to aspire to play lead?
Rhythm players that want to... what tips would I have for rhythm players who are aspiring to play lead? I would say use your knowledge of the chords and the positions, and start to practice scales and just so that you can see how, if you're in C there, that you can be playing, you can be playing up there, just learn for each chord. It's a long process. There's two things for me. One would be the scale thing, and learning the scales that go with the different chords. The other thing is, if you can sing it in your head, if you can sing what you want to play, then you can play it. And it's not like magic, it doesn't just come out. But the way that I learnt was by copying other records. And so a Queen solo, for instance, I would listen and listen until I could sing it or hear it in my head. And then, just learn it note by note, just until I can hear that it's the same as what I'm hearing in my head. Yes? Play what I love to play most. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to play you. This might be incredibly embarrassing right now, but I'm going to play you the Investigate solo. And so first of all, I'm just going to set up a little loop to play, so I can play to it. Okay, mistake number one. Why is that not working? Thank you. Tripped up a little bit. How long we got? Okay. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be done, I mean. So. Okay. Oh, okay. Great. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for all the great questions, and have a great rest of the day.